Hi there, and welcome to a little Oculus themed update we've thrown together after the news that anybody with an Oculus dev kit can now jump in and play the VR version of Strike Zero. So if you have an Oculus dev kit and you have a copy of Strike Zero, you can now jump in, play the VR version of the game, and hopefully let us know what you think. We've set aside now the forums for you guys to jump on and talk. If you have any bugs or suggestions or comments, get on there and let us know what you think. That would be absolutely fantastic. There's still a lot of work our end that we need to do, and your input would really help in aiding us to do that. It should come as no surprise that we're massive fans of VR here at Born Ready Games. Oculus has come along and it's given a kick up the arse to the tech and made it relevant and viable again. It wasn't too long ago that the tech was made a mockery of, purely because it was a bit rubbish. But Oculus has come along and revitalised it and brought it to the forefront again, and in my mind at least, it's the real next generation of games. Perhaps the biggest challenge for us in developing the Oculus version of the game was making sure that the right information is still conveyed to the player. So to that end, we've put a lot of effort into the HUD and the UI, both making sure that it works in a thematic sense, so that it sits in the cockpit and it works in a diegetic sense, but also that the information you need from the game is still presented. We're going to look into that in a little bit more detail right now and talk about how we've overcome those obstacles.
I guess the biggest problem was that there was so much information, and all the information was spread around the edges of the screen. So when we tried to scale it down to fit in the field of view, we realized that the text was unreadable. That was the main complication. There is no big difference in the HUD. The difference maybe is in the way we display the information. Let me explain it with the next example. Basically, imagine that you have a board in front of you. It's a huge board, so if you don't move your head, you can't see the whole information. So in order to access to the information, you have to keep moving your head around. We emulated that with the Oculus, with the head tracking. So basically, you just have to look around to see all the elements of the HUD. And I think it's cool because it adds a new level of immersion.
Yeah. It makes you feel that you are you have all the information around you. You have to take a look into the information, and basically the main difference from the main game is that the HUD is not in front of you. You have to look around the edges of the screen. Well, as we said before, the tricks that we implemented in this case is to begin with, to render the UI in general at a bigger scale than what the current resolution is, because that helped a lot with readability. One of the main issues that we had when we scaled down the HUD originally and the UI, it was that the text was not readable at all. So the solution that we found was this one, to scale the HUD to a bigger size, and that makes the whole thing much readable. The information on the text, you can actually read what's on there, and also combined with the native resolution of the Oculus, that it helped a lot, I think.
Yeah, also maybe you want to mention about the key to put the HUD again in front of you in case you...
Well, a small trick that we also employed is that when you're in any menu, you can press G in your keyboard, and we are going to add a key for the gamepad also, but basically it resets the HUD orientation and the UI orientation to wherever you're looking, so that you don't get, if you get lost, you lose your menu or whatever, you can just press this key and it will reset it. So I think it's unique compared to with other games, like Team Fortress 2, for example. They keep the UI in front of the player constantly, and that's great in some games. That can be a good implementation, a good idea, because if the HUD and the UI is simple enough to keep all the information in a place that is visible at once, that's really helpful. But in our case, we had so many information, and all of the information was around the edges of the screen, which it was impossible to read when we tried that solution. So
actually, it was one of the guys from Oculus who suggested us to try that solution.
And I was trying it and see that it was a really good idea, so we keep we kept working on that, and it turns out that people like it so far.
So yeah, that's how the Oculus version of the game is coming along. There's still a lot of work to be done, but hopefully that's where you guys can come in and help us out. We've set aside an area of the forums for you to discuss bugs and suggestions and comments and anything else to do with the Oculus version of the game. So please do jump on there and get involved. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back more very soon.